Hey guys, what's up? It's Audra and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, today is going to be the very first episode of Chat with Audra. Now, this is a series I'm going to start doing on my YouTube channel every single month. That is like kind of a podcast-ish episode where I kind of talk about a topic that you guys have suggested on my Instagram story, which is where I asked it for this time. Obviously, if you guys are like into the YouTube space, I can ask it on my community page, on my Facebook, on whatever. But just to get the topics rolling, I started on Instagram because that's where mostly everybody is. But how this is gonna work is, like I said, it's gonna be a podcast type episode where I just come on here and I talk about something that you guys wanna hear me talk about. And so I scrolled through all the suggestions, which by the way, thank you guys so much for those. And this is kind of like the setup that I have for right now, but who knows if that's gonna change, what's gonna come out of this, but I just had this idea and I really wanted to start doing it. So today is the first episode of Chat with Audra. And today's topic was, like I said, chosen by you guys, and somebody asked me to talk about life as a young female musician. So that is what we're gonna hit on today. I wrote down some points, playing this all out so I'm not just rambling and talking, because I really want this to be a good, cool, fun segment that I can continue doing on my channel at the end of every month. So let's jump into episode 1. So as I said, we're talking about life as a young female musician, and I kind of broke it up into 4 categories of my life when I was younger, and then as I kind of got to where I am today, because as most of you guys know, and if you didn't, I started in the band when I was really young. I was about 11 years old, and that's when I first kind of had my introduction to being a female musician, and that was just playing around our town before we even started on YouTube, which was when I was around 15 years old. So that was kind of my intro into, this journey that I was starting. And I would say that being a live musician when I was 15 years old in my hometown was quite different than what we are doing now, obviously. But the first thing I want to talk about is social media, because like I said, being on YouTube when I was 15, 16 years old made like a big difference in my life. And I think it's not something that people talk about very often. I know it's like kind of something that people just think is like a known fact, but being on the internet as like a child in this position is weird. And I guess at the time I didn't really think like, oh, I'm a child. Obviously no 15, 16-year-old thinks that they're a child, but you are. And looking back on it, there's definitely some things that I think about now that were a little bit, hard to get through. And I think this question of life as a young female musician is not really about necessarily the musician part. And it's what is life as a young female being a musician and putting yourself out on the internet is where I think that this topic really goes. So that's what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to start with social media. So when I was doing this, when I started this, I obviously was in high school, and that in itself had some challenges. People obviously were really confused, and I wouldn't say that anybody was not supportive. I think, quite honestly, everybody in my high school was like, this is so cool. I can't believe you do this. And there definitely were some people who thought it was weird. And I think it is weird when all of your friends have normal jobs for high schoolers and you're like, I sing songs on the internet, and people are like, what in the world is that? And that's a little bit weird. And when, your friends are posting on Instagram like they're in high school, like they're posting selfies, they're posting pictures with their friends. I didn't do that because I felt weird, because I'd started to gain a following and I was treating my social media like a business, and I wanted to build it up, and I wanted to use that to do what I do now. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the things I did when I was 15 and 16 years old. But obviously, it's a little weird. Nobody understood. And then, you get a check mark on your Instagram, and then all of a sudden when you comment on your friend's post, it's a big deal. And even though it's not. And obviously, like, your close friends understand that. Like, my friends were never like, oh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. Now it's like a joke that we make, whatever. But, like, it's weird in high school. And I still tried to have fun with my Instagram and post like I was a high schooler, but still post about my band and post like I was a influencer. And it was weird and it was a hard balance, but I think I eventually started to get the hang of it. And I wanted to be very interactive and answer messages and answer comments. And I think that's when things started to go a little sideways for me. So jumping into the next thing I want to talk about is turning 18 on the internet. I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat it. We're just gonna talk about it because it's gross. It's gross. And I literally was like, what the hell is happening now? Like, I turned 18 and it opened up a world of new things for me to deal with on the internet. And I literally remember turning 18 and I was talking to Matt and I was like, I just like don't even want to post about it. Like, I was so over social media already 2 years later at that point, where I was just like, I get super weird messages. I don't want to deal with this. Like, I'm a child and I'm getting weird messages. Like, what is wrong with people? And I turned 18 and I was like, I don't even want to say it. Like, I don't want this to open a door for anything. And of course it did. And I got so many weird messages, so many weird comments, and it kind of ruined my relationship with social media in every single way, because not only did it happen on my Instagram, it happened in our YouTube comments and everywhere. And it just ruins it for you, because the last thing you want to do is go online when you're 18 years old, just graduating high school, and read weird comments about yourself and get weird messages from people you don't even know, who don't even know you, who are years and years older than you even, and you just don't know what to do. So I had to take a step away because I felt uncomfortable promoting anything, posting our music videos, because then not only was I being judged for being a singer, I also was being judged on myself. And I got really bad image of myself in this time because I was posting for the whole internet to see, which, number one, that's a whole nother discussion, how it's not healthy to read comments and look at things about yourself when you're that young, because it's a very impressionable age, and I think it does no good for anybody. And what I was doing was so small scale compared to what other young people do on the internet, so I can't even imagine what they go through. Like I said, it's nowhere even close to some other people, but I just understand and I have that sympathy for them. But I felt very uncomfortable promoting anything because I didn't want to post, because then not only people were judging my singing, they were judging what I was wearing and what I looked like and what my makeup looked like. And I was like, why does this matter at all? And I became very self-conscious about, feeling like I was dressing provocatively when I literally was wearing something that a high schooler would wear. And it wasn't, but it felt like it, because there could be hundreds of positive comments and you read the one negative comment. Same thing with my voice. My voice was changing. I went from 15 to 18 years old on the internet. I literally went through puberty on the internet. Like, that's literally what happened. My voice changed, and there were things that I couldn't sing live anymore. There were covers that I couldn't do anymore because I didn't have the same voice that I had when we started. And that was a big challenge. And I got very self-conscious when I graduated high school, and like right towards the end of graduating high school, and deciding to do this full time. And that was why it was such a hard decision for me, because I was so very not confident in myself at the moment, in which I put a lot of thank you to like my band members and my parents and my friends for pushing me to do this, because I was really scared to do it, and I was really scared to continue doing this, and I didn't know if I was gonna be able to handle it, but I did. And that brings me to the next part. So I want to talk about overcoming these challenges online, because even though I was going through all this, I didn't let any of that stop me, because being a musician is what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to let any of this other stuff get in the way of that. I started treating my social media, YouTube, Instagram, all the things. Like, and I say YouTube and Instagram because those are the big ones. Like, those were our big two. I was really popular on my Instagram. First to 11 was really popular on YouTube at the time. And this is kind of when COVID started, and I started treating it like a business. I stayed off of social media, specifically YouTube, for the most part. Didn't read comments. I did my job. I posted my comment from first to 11, put out the videos, posted them on Instagram, did not read any comments, did not answer any messages, and just kind of put up a boundary of, this is a business. I am a business person, and social media is not for fun anymore. It is a business. And that's kind of how I had to think of it. Because if I didn't separate those two things in my head, I couldn't do it. And so I had to make that separation in my brain. And I think that is kind of the thing that like saved me when it came to social media, which I think is a good thing. And I'm very glad that I did it. But, you know, a year went by of COVID, and I started to have a little bit more fun again on social media because First to 11 started streaming, and we got to get to know our really good fans who would never do any of the things that I just said and listed of, you know, weird messages and weird comments. And they're great. It's great. I was having a great time. And so I opened up a little bit more, and I started having a little bit more fun on my Instagram, and a little bit more fun. I read some YouTube comments, and I answered some messages, and I answered some comments, and I just started to play around with it while still keeping that boundary of, if I see something that makes me uncomfortable, I'm just going to stop. Because if I didn't do that, this would be a whole different story. But I think that's how I felt. I think it was really hard for me to think of people on the internet judging me, whether it be my voice, my looks, my whatever. And I don't know how I got over that, other than just putting up these boundaries. But like I said, there's no way to know that would have worked. And I'm glad that it did. But it still always lingers in the back of my mind, and it's a little bit scary still to this day. And that kind of brings me to my last point of, this is still a challenging thing. It never gets easier, I would say. Because like I said, I did all these things. I made the separation. I, treat social media a little differently. I am more confident in myself. I've grown up. I'm 22 years old now. And it's been, 4 years since all of these crazy things happened. And, I feel more self-assurance than I did at that time. Because that's what happens when you grow up. And I still find challenges. I think the hardest part for me is this world that I'm in now all of a sudden opened up to my family and friends. And not only do I get weird messages, but my friends get weird messages, and my parents get weird messages, my brother, my boyfriend. And you're just like, I understand that. Here's the thing. I understand that I signed up for this. Like, I know going on the internet, putting yourself out on the internet, this is what you get. And it's unavoidable, and you have to be a certain type of person to be able to deal with it. Like I said, there was a moment where I didn't know if I was. I now know I am, but I don't feel like I need to expect that of every single person in my life. And I think that is totally unfair that people who are fans of, not even necessarily people who are fans of us, people who follow us, and because our fans would never do this, people who follow us and think it's okay to message my friends and be like, oh, what's Audra's number? Oh, do you have pictures of Audra? Blah, blah, blah. Like, just don't bring the people that I love into this conversation. And I think that's still a very challenging thing. There's a reason why I don't often post my friends and my family, and up until now, my boyfriend, on social media, because I don't want them to have to deal with that. And that's always something I'm going to have to work around. But I just don't think it's fair that me being online chronically in so many different ways is, makes them vulnerable to comments and messages and, hurtful things on the internet. Like, my parents shouldn't have to be reading these things about me online, and I think it's just unfair. But I think everybody is constantly judging everyone on the internet, and I think everybody just needs to take a step back and realize that everybody is a real person online. And even these people who seem like fake because, they're online just singing covers, you just are like, they are a singer. They're still a person. And I think that's kind of my takeaway of this whole thing is like, these people are still people and they still have feelings. And I know from experience, I'm not the only one who's gone through this. Talking to all of our other friends who are in this industry and do what we do, some of them get it way worse than me. And I just want, if you take away anything from this video, to just think about what you say online. Because not only does it affect the person you say it to, it affects everybody around them. And I think that's just such an important thing, to just stop constantly judging people all the time. I don't think it's necessary. I think, in a platform that I have, I want to use it for something good. And I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Is I built up my platform as this young female musician, but I'm more than a young female musician. I'm now an adult who has feelings about things like this and who wants to be able to help people who are going through the same thing and to save people from going through a similar thing that I did, that other people have gone through, because I just don't want that to ever stop anybody from doing what they love to do. And that's something else, is don't let this stuff stop you, because I know right now I'd be regretting it in the most insane way if I ever let any of this stop me from doing what I love. But I know it can be hard, so just understand, I know what you're going through, and that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching me talk about my life as a young female musician on the internet. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, I'm going to be doing these videos at the end of every month, a little chat with Audra sessions. So if there's any topics that you want me to cover, leave it in the comments. I'll gladly read through these comments and talk about some topics, another topic next month. So thank you guys so much for watching episode 1 of Chat with Audra. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss an upload every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye. See you next week.